Hello, welcome to the 57th edition of Drive-Thru Review. Today I'm going to talk about Eruption. It's a game from Stratus Games. It's a 2 to 6 player game. It's a family style game, and it's about a volcano that's erupting, as you can tell from the box cover. And each of you has a village that you're trying to defend and kind of ward off the volcano for as long as possible, and hopefully destroying everybody else's village on the island. So let me just jump into how this game works, then I'll come back and tell you what I think. Okay, let me give you a quick rundown of everything that you're going to get to play the game. First, you got your board here, which is absolutely a gorgeous board. You can even see this volcano. It's got a little smoke coming out of there. It's pretty cool. You're going to get a bunch of these tiles here, which are going to have all the different paths for the volcano. And some people like to set these up in the middle and do it like so. So you can just draw, when you draw a tile, just draw right out of the volcano itself. You're also going to get 3 special tiles, which are eruption tiles. So these will come up 3 times in the game. You can see they're numbered 1, 2, 3, and those are set off to the side. You get 2 dice. These are for your walls. So when you're going to roll, this dice will be for your wall, and this one will be for the lava. And I'll explain that a little bit clearer later. You're going to have a stack of cards. Each player gets 3 cards to start off the game. And these will do, basically, they're dual purpose cards. So you can play them for their effect, and there's a variety of different effects. And then you can also play them for their resource ability or their wall ability. And there's 3 different types of walls in the game. So when you play the card, you either do the effect or you can get a wall of that type. There are 3 different walls in the game, or types of walls. You've got straw, wood, and stone. And so players are going to start the game off with 1 of each, and then later on they'll get them from the main supply. And each player will get a token in their color that's going to go up this track around the board. Now this isn't a point track, it's actually a temperature track. And you don't want to be moving up this as much as you can, because the game will end, or one of the ways the game will end is with somebody's token gets all the way up here and the village is on fire. Then the game will end, and whoever is the lowest on the track, let's say purple didn't get very far up here, he would win the game if he was the least furthest up the track. The other way the game will end is if the last tile is placed. And in either condition, when the game ends, everybody gets kind of one last turn to deal with the lava and play any cards that they might have. So each of these tokens will match a village on the board. You can see there's a blue one here, a purple, a green, and based on the number of players, you need to sit in a certain formation. So in a 2-player game, there would be somebody here and somebody directly across. Or in a 3-player game, there'd be somebody, let's say, there, here, and then so on for 4, 5, and 6 to kind of space things out correctly. So once players take their 3 cards to start the game, 1 of each wall, then the game will start. And there's a turn structure depicted on each of the corners. You can see it here, basically what you're going to do every turn. And it's pretty simple and straightforward. So the first thing you're going to do on your turn is assess any damage that might be applied to your village. So if there's any lavas flowing into your village, like so, let's say you had lava coming in like this, you would go up 20 degrees for each flow that was going into your village. Now if you had a wall there, then you would roll to see if the wall holds, and I'll explain the walls in a little bit. So the first thing you're going to do is assess any possible damage, and then you're going to draw and place a tile. After placing a tile, you may then play any cards that you might have. You can play as many cards as you want on your turn, but you're not going to be able to draw cards every turn, at least initially, to start the game. So you're going to need to be somewhat judicious with how you play those cards. So after placing a tile and then playing any cards that you may wish, you're able to build 1 wall for your turn, and that will go up later in turns, and maybe through the use of cards you can build more than 1 wall, but you have the option of building a wall every turn. So let's first take a look at drawing and placing a tile. So drawing and placing a tile is a lot like a lot of other tile games like Carcassonne and things like that. So you have to draw the tile here and then place it, and to start off with, you've got to come out of one of these paths coming out of the mountain, and everything's got to legally be placed. So when you place one of these tiles, for example, you've got to come out of here, but you can't go back into the mountain where there isn't a stream coming out. So this wouldn't be legal like so. you'd have to do something like this, where it comes out and then goes out this way. So the next person to place a tile could continue as the stream, as long as the stream, you know, dead ends back into the volcano. So I could go and place one out here, etc. Now, if you draw and place a tile on one of these spaces with these icons, then you'll immediately get a wall of that type. So if I put it on here, I'd be able to grab a straw wall and keep it, or in this case, a stone wall. If for some reason, let's say this isn't legal necessarily, but let's say I played this here, if I draw and place a tile and it connects to the village, then I get to draw a card for each stream that's going into the village like that, even if the player isn't in the game. So that kind of gives you a nice, you know, as these things kind of fork out, let's say there was no purple player and I place this over here, then that's a way for me to draw 2 cards on my turn, and that can be really handy in the game. So the whole board is really in play here, even if you only have 2 players. So now let's look at building walls. Like I said before, there's 3 types of walls. There's straw, stone, and wood. And straw is the weakest, well, stone being the second weakest, and then, or sorry, wood being the second weakest, and stone being the strongest. And there's 2 places you can place a wall. If I was the purple player here, I could place a wall right here on one of the edges of my village, like so. So any of these edges here, I could have 1 wall. On the other hand, let's say this stream was coming out here, and I wanted to be sort of proactive. I can go out and place a wall anywhere on the board on a tile, on the edge of the tile there, and I'd put that right there. But when I do this, I have to actually roll to see if that works. And this is where the difference in wall types comes in. So when I go to place a wall on a tile, I have to roll. I'll take both dice here and I'll roll. Okay, in this case I've got a tie. Now ties will go to the lava. So, but since this is a stone wall, it actually adds +2 to my die roll. So this one would be okay. The wood will actually add +1 to the die roll, so that one would also be okay. Now the straw, on the other hand, doesn't add any modifiers to the die roll. So since in this case the tie goes to the lava, this would fail. My construction of this straw wall would fail, and so I'd have to get rid of it and discard it, and that would be a wasted move. So once this is out here, let's say I'd put the stone out there and succeeded, then that's good. So this is temporarily blocked from coming down this direction here. Now another player could come and try to, you know, go around it like this. So they could try to go around it, or if they wanted to, they could try to place it on the other side of the stone wall, at which time you'll roll again. So we'll roll again. Oh, there we got another tie. So the stone wall will hold, and then that player has to go find another spot to put the tile. So let's say we had run all this way down to the village like so, and we had this flow coming this way like so. So at the start of my turn, I'm going to check my village for damage, and then I'm going to get 20 degrees added to my marker going up the track here for each stream coming in. But if I built a wall there, then I would need to roll at the start of my turn any walls that were, you know, preventing a stream coming in. So in this case, I'd have to roll every turn to see if that stone wall held. So in this case, it would hold because I got a 5 and the lava's roll was a 3. So if I had a whole bunch of these coming in, I'd have to roll for each one. So in this case, I've got a wood here, a stone here, and then an unprotected stream here. So I'd get 20 right off the bat, and then I roll for the wood. Now in this case I lost. So the wood wall would be destroyed and be removed, and I'd immediately take a +10 degrees for failing that. And then if I rolled here and succeeded, it would just stay until the next turn when I have to roll again. So you can see as you heat up and you start moving up, you're going to hit these spaces here that show these special tiles. And these are special zones here that, you know, give you actually extra abilities in the game. So let's talk a little bit about how this works when you move up and what these spaces do. So when a player hits one of these special spaces that shows the eruption tile, the first player to do so will draw the matching tile with the matching number, and then they can place this tile anywhere on the board as long as it's legal, but it doesn't have to be connected back to the original stream. That's the one sort of rule that gets broken. So I could just put this right over here, right on the village, or somewhere like so, like right there, to start a new stream. Now from now on, tiles can be placed coming out of here as if it was coming out of this mainstream here. The other thing that's going to happen when players do that is everybody else is going to go up and immediately 30 degrees more. So basically the island gets heated up 3 times in the game, and everybody kind of is, you know, inevitably going to get heated up to some extent. The other thing to keep in mind with these areas here is once you hit this area here, you can build an extra wall on your turn, as long as your marker is, you know, in this space or higher. Once you get up to here, you can actually draw a card on your turn before you play any cards. And if you're in here, you can do both. You can draw a card and place an extra wall. And then if you get up to here, you actually can place an extra tile on your turn. And you can draw a card and you can build an extra wall. So as you get closer and closer to losing, it's sort of a catch-up mechanism that works, in my opinion. And it lets you do a little bit more to kind of catch everybody else and bring everybody down with you. So let's talk a little bit about the card play. So like I said at the beginning, you only get 3 cards to start the game. So let's just take a look at some of the cards. And like I said, you can play them for the effect or for the resource. This one will reduce your temperature by 30 degrees. This one will let you actually just remove a tile. This one will let you remove any wall on the board. That can be sort of a mean card to do. This one lets you build an extra wall on your turn. This one lets you draw and place an extra tile. This one actually lets you draw a tile and then replace it. This one lets you rotate a tile. Everything's still got to be legal after you've played these cards. The other thing you can do is discard 2 cards and just without any effect or any resource, and then you get to draw and place another tile there. And on your turn you can play as many cards as you want, but you have to be down to 3 cards. You can't hold more than 3 cards at the end of your turn. And this is sort of a real kind of interesting dynamic. I really like how they did this, because you're kind of torn between, you know, are you going to be a jerk, you know, and place more tiles on people, get them upset at you, maybe target you, or are you going to kind of play defensively and build walls? And so this has been sort of an interesting aspect over the few times that I've played it, is this aspect of the game is there's some kind of strategy to this part of it, and it adds a nice layer to the game, you know, above and beyond just kind of the random tile layouts. So I'm starting to talk about the review, so let me jump into that part. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. I like this game. It plays actually pretty differently with 2 to 6 players. Maybe that's obvious, but you know, with 2 players you're across the volcano from each other, and so pretty much you just build directly towards each other and just start cooking the junk out of each other. But with, you know, more players, I haven't played it with 6. I really want to play it with 6 because I think it'd just be a, you know, a nice kind of fun, chaotic game. But with more players, we actually ended the game where somebody didn't actually get cooked up. We actually ran out of tiles. So with fewer players, it seemed like it was just more direct. You know, you go right for the person and everything gets burned up. Whereas with more players, it becomes sort of like a diplomatic sort of negotiation game where you're saying, well, don't burn me, and, you know, don't burn him. Not to the point where it bogs the game down at all. I mean, that's not really the part of the game, but because everything is real apparent. You know who's in the lead. There's no arguing like, oh, you know, well, he's in the lead. He's doing better than me. But you can actually see, and nobody wants to be in front, but everybody wants to be behind too. So it evens everything out and doesn't bog the game down. But there is a little bit of, I don't want to, you know, make this other person too mad at me because they're just going to, you know, burn me and catch me up, and then I won't be furthest behind. So that really, it just really comes out, you know, very smoothly in the game. And so, like I said, there's a little bit of managing what to do with the cards, and you know, you can send some streams over to other villages where there's nobody to get some more cards, give yourself some more, you know, fail safes towards the end of the game. And the dice actually works out pretty well. One thing I was like a little hesitant about was, you know, well, you kind of rolling dice and. You know, I'm not a dice hater by any means, but sometimes dice is just like, oh, it just throws the game one way or the other. But it works out well because you got that tension of every turn where the lavas come around, you know you're going to get cooked. And like, oh, you know, your stone wall may succeed 2 turns, but then it fails, and so you got to deal with that. And it really fits with the whole the building and the tension, you start to deal with more and more lava just everywhere, and everybody just starts to get burnt up. So it's fun. I think it's great that it plays 6. I want to play it with 6, but it definitely plays good with 2. And with 3, 4, it plays great too. So I think this is a great game that people should take a look at. Anyway, the components are great. The artwork's great. So nice, good family game. Probably good, for the holidays, I would expect. So thanks.